U.S.-backed rebels make rapid advances in an offensive against Islamic State-held areas in Aleppo. Israel today celebrates the 49th year of the unification of Jerusalem as the city's Muslim residents prepare for Ramadan. The friends and family of legendary boxer Muhammad Ali paid tribute to the former world heavyweight champion who died at age 74. Good afternoon and thank you for joining us at I-24 News. I'm Tjong Alfalas. We begin in Syria, where U.S.-backed rebels continue to make rapid advances in an offensive against Islamic State-held areas in Aleppo, Syria province on Saturday. Separately, militants from radical Islamic groups led by Al-Qaeda offshoot Nusra Front were victorious in southern Aleppo. Anna Ehrenheim has the latest.
Dozens of civilians were killed after a string of barrel bombs were dropped on several rebel-held districts of Aleppo. More than 300 civilians are said to have been killed in Aleppo in the past 2 weeks, but these raids are said to have been the most intense in over a week.
Warplanes and helicopters dropped bombs and barrel bombs on the city, killing around 50 people and wounding dozens.
And as regime airstrikes pounded Aleppo, Syrian troops continued to push into the Islamic State-held province of Raqqa, forcing the militant group to fight on two fronts as Kurdish-led SDF forces backed by the United States advance in a pincer grip from the north. Backed by Russian airstrikes, Syrian forces have reportedly advanced 35 kilometers within 2 days, coming closer to their first goal of recapturing the town of Takba, 50 kilometers from Raqqa city, held by the jihadist group since August 2014. The area is home to the country's largest dam, along with a major airbase. When the Islamic State overran it, it captured 160 regime troops and released a now infamous video showing the soldiers marching through the desert in their underwear before being executed. But 2 years later, IS is no longer at its peak and is now facing counterattacks on multiple fronts. Further up north in Syria, the SDF has recaptured more than 100 square kilometers in the past week in an offensive along the Syrian-Turkish border. But even as the group faces off against the Syrian army and the SDF, they have launched their own offensives against towns held by non-jihadist rebels. U.S.-backed rebels defending the town of Ma'era, the scene of violent clashes, received airdrops of ammunition and weapons in a bid to stop IS militants from overrunning them. U.S. Navy jets have also hit IS targets in Syria from the USS Harry S. Truman aircraft carrier in the eastern Mediterranean Sea, the first strikes launched from sea since the 2003 war in Iraq. And while the Navy said that the strikes did not hit high-value targets, more complex missions are being planned for the next coming days.
Well, Iraqi security forces and an Iranian-backed Shiite Iraqi militia took back the town of Saklawiya from Islamic State militants near the IS stronghold of Fallujah on Saturday. Saudi Arabia voiced concern that the presence of Shiite militias alongside the army in the battle to retake the city could lead to sectarian violence. But the Iraqi government noted Iran's participation in the battle to retake Fallujah is necessary, and an Iranian top general said it is Iranian policy to help out Islamic states in need.
It is Iran's policy that if any Islamic state in this region need our help, whether economically, politically, militarily, or security, we will give a hand. General Qasem Soleimani is just doing that work. Saudi Arabia fears progress made by him and his growing influence in the region, so it is intentionally finding faults.
Israelis today celebrate Jerusalem Day, commemorating the liberation and unification of the Holy City in the 1967 Six-Day War. But this year, the day's celebrations, which have become controversial as they highlight the growing divide with the city's Arab residents, falls on the eve of the first day of Ramadan. Anna Ehrenheim reports.
Marking the unification of a divided city. For 38 years, the anniversary has been a controversial one, plagued by tension in the city at the heart of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. But this year, it falls at the start of the Muslim holy month of Ramadan, and Israeli police are extra prepared for the heightened potential of violence. The flag dance is infamous for rallying tens of thousands of right-wing Israelis, drawing them to the Muslim quarter of the old city, chanting nationalist and sometimes racist slogans. This year, the parade will avoid the eastern parts of the city walls during Muslim prayer times, a restriction police insist will not alter the course of the rally, but the hours, an effort to reduce the chance of clashes between Jewish marchers and Muslim worshippers. The change comes hot on the heels of an urgent petition filed by the non-profit organization Iran-backed to stop the parade passing through the Muslim section. In previous years, however, those petitions have been ignored. Racist insults, clashes, and vandalisms have been documented in the past, while rights groups say that the current route impinges on the basic freedoms of Palestinian residents. This is not the only nationalist day held for Jerusalem. Palestinians celebrate their own Iranian-inspired Quds Day at the end of Ramadan. It's a clash that shows how contested, divided, and fraught the city truly is, as a center to all three of the world's monotheistic faiths. But Sunday marks Israel's turn to hail its claim to Jerusalem's historic walls. And in spite of the tensions, Israelis will dance and rejoice in celebration of its 1967 capture.
Hundreds of migrants who were rescued from a sinking ship off the island of Crete, meanwhile, arrived in the Sicilian port of Augusta on Saturday. According to the International Organization for Migration, there were at least 700 migrants aboard the shipwrecked boat, and a total of 340 migrants were rescued, along with 9 bodies. The Greek Coast Guard, however, said that migrants who survived the shipwreck told authorities their boat carried about 350 people.
Today, a ship arrived in Augusta, bringing the survivors of the recent shipwreck that happened off the coast of Crete. Amongst them, there was a small girl, very small, just 3 years old, who had lost both her parents and her siblings in the sea. She is now being looked after, and the search will begin in the next few days for her relatives who are in Egypt and for an uncle who's in Germany.
An anti-immigration rally in Bristol spilled over into violence on Saturday as protesters clashed with anti-fascist demonstrators and police. Approximately 20 people formed a far-right group, while anti-fascist demonstrators were in the hundreds. The Bristol anti-fascist protest had been timed to counteract the march, saying that they wanted to show that most Bristolians do not support the anti-refugee movement. The protests come ahead of a June 23rd vote in Britain on whether to remain in the 28-member EU, a choice with far-reaching consequences for politics, the economy, defense, and diplomacy in Britain.
I'm here today because I think that the use of racism in the referendum, the EU referendum, is just absolutely abominable. And the fact that the Nazis think they can come to Bristol today and that they're going to have support from the public is just so shameful. And I think that Bristol people need to stand up and tell them that it's not okay, we don't accept it, and that we are a multiracial city and we're proud of it.
Basically, we're just here to promote the cause, as we always are. We go across, we go across and we get opposed by the far left all the time. I feel that they should have their right to demonstrate. All I ask is that we have the same.
Friends and family of the former world heavyweight champion Muhammad Ali paid tribute to the legendary boxer on Saturday. They remembered Ali for dying as he lived with honor and bravery following a 30-year bout with Parkinson's disease. ABC News has more.
Ali now seemingly commanding.
In the toughest bout of his life, Muhammad Ali went out a champion. His daughter Hannah tweeted, "Dad did not go easily. Ali's heart beating 30 minutes after his other organs failed. We all tried to stay strong and whispered in his ear, 'You can go now, we will be okay.' The tough guy who leaves so many tender memories.
I'll always be with me, my heart, my bones, my mind.
The world will miss that kind of compassion and that level of kindness.
From sports superstars for whom Ali blazed the trail.
As a kid, I gravitated towards him because he was a champion.
Other than Jesus, it's got to be Muhammad Ali.
To Michael J. Fox, a fellow Parkinson's victim.
He said, "I'm sure you have this, but with you in the fight, we can win." And I cried. It was an amazing moment.
Muhammad Ali also remembered as a civil rights pioneer.
He went from being despised to the most loved and renowned person on the planet because he stood for something.
The president and Mrs. Obama saying in a statement, quote, "Ali stood up when it was hard, spoke out when others wouldn't." In his hometown of Louisville, flowers to remember their native son. They will welcome Muhammad Ali home one last time on Friday in grand style. Funeral plans will include a huge procession through the streets of Louisville. Speakers will include former President Bill Clinton, Bryant Gumbel, and comedian Billy Crystal.
And those were the latest headlines and reports straight to you from the Java Port. Join us again at the top of the hour. Thanks for watching.